Thank you, sir. Good evening and welcome to our City Council meeting. We're going to start with the invocation and that will be followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you would, please bow your head with me. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this day and all the blessings you have given us. We thank you for providing us the opportunity to serve the citizens of Elkins. We ask that you guide us in our decision-making as we strive to help our community grow. We also ask that you watch over and guide our country's leaders. In Jesus' name I pray, amen. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I will now call our council meeting to order and ask our city clerk to take a roll, please.
Councilor Bross-Friganera.
Here.
Councilor Carroll, absent. Councilor Chenoweth. Here. Councilor Hinchman. Here. Councilor Kearns.
Here.
Councilor Lowther.
Here.
Councilor Parker.
Here.
Councilor Pliszka. Absent. Councilor Severino.
Here.
And Councilor Thompson.
Here.
8 present. You have a quorum.
Thank you, sir. Is there anyone here tonight for public comment? If not, we will go down to the minutes portion, and I will entertain a motion to accept the minutes from the March 21st, 2024 meeting as presented. We have a motion. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Under correspondence, you have your building permits in there. We had someone was supposed to present. They did not show up tonight, so we will move on to the council reports. And we will start with the entertaining Mr. Councilor Parker. You.
I have no reports this evening, sir.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Bross-Friganera.
The Municipal Properties Committee was going to meet on Monday. However, there isn't really anything that I have that's pressing. So if it's okay with the mayor, I think we could cancel that meeting.
That is fine with me. Thank you.
Okay. So therefore, the Municipal Properties meeting will not take place on Monday. Tree Board will be meeting. Normally they would have met this week, I think, but we are going to be meeting on the 16th, and we're still working on grant proposals, and I think that's about it for me. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Hinchman.
Okay, Finance hasn't met. We will meet next Monday. However, looking at the first 3 quarters of this year compared to last year, we ended up last year at this quarter with 312 new businesses, and we ended up with 950 on this quarter, so that's 38 more new businesses than we had last year at this time.
That is excellent news. Thank you. Councilor Chenoweth. Thank you, sir. Councilor Kearns.
No report. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilor Severino.
No report.
Thank you. Councilor Lowther.
Rules and Ordinances met Monday. We will be reviewing the Ordinance 327 tonight. That was anything that came out of that meeting. And Parks and Recreation will meet on the 17th at 5 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Councilor Thompson.
No report.
If you need to move this way because of the ceiling falling, we understand.
Possibly.
Thank you, sir. Okay, moving down to our staff reports, we will start with Chief Bennett.
Good evening. In the month of March, Elkins Police responded to 373 calls for service. That resulted in 14 criminal cases and 7 arrestees. Pretty low, really, for starting into spring, so that's a good thing. The call volume seems to be down just a little bit the last couple months, but I'm sure that'll pick back up once the weather gets really nice. Still waiting on one item for our in-vehicle camera systems and radars to be installed. So once that comes, the company will come here to do the install on it, and then we'll field it remotely and be up and running with that. So can't wait to have that done. Our guy that's at the academy is in his 6th week. They were sent home this week for the storms, so he's getting a break this week and going back Sunday to start week 7, I guess. So hopefully that doesn't keep them there any longer. Usually they have a little bit of a buffer built in to where if they do lose time, it doesn't mean that they extend their academy class usually. We had our testing this past Saturday. We had, out of the 20 or so applications, we had 8 people actually show up. 6 of those passed everything and made the eligibility list. So we have 6 people on our new hiring list right now. So that's a lot better than any recent test that I can remember to get 6 eligible candidates on the list. So that's a good thing. We'll start the backgrounds on them as soon as we can and try to get 3 hired. Next academy class is the end of June, so hopefully we'll have some people in that class. Only other thing I'd like to mention tonight is yesterday, especially in the morning, was kind of a mess. It was a stressful day for pretty much every department in the city, but the work between the departments was great. The communication between the departments was great. And when I see somebody do a good job, whether it's my officer or not, I like to tell them thank you. And for tonight, that's going to be Jeremy. That position is so valuable to us. It's so valuable to this, but for me, for Steve, I'm sure any of the admin officers, that when we have situations that we're being pulled back and forth, or it's a crisis situation, that takes a huge amount of responsibility off of us to be able to communicate with the media, not have to be on our phone or talking to somebody else while we should be focusing on getting something fixed. So that position is great for us. Yesterday morning, I was on my way here. I had my police officers call me saying, hey, South Randolph Avenue is a mess. We're going to have to divert traffic. We need something out there to keep people out of the area. I hung up, called Jeremy, and before I could even get to the office, it was already being announced on the radio. My vehicle was like, wow, you know, that's quick. It was 5 minutes. It was already being broadcast. I'm sure he already had winds out and had it posted on social media. So appreciate that, Jeremy. That's all I have, unless anybody has any questions for me.
Thanks for
I
taking.
had I'm sorry, a quick question.
Sure.
With the cameras, I know there was going to be sort of a roll-in with certain priority areas first, and I can't remember. These are the cameras that are around town. I didn't know if in the first tier of installation, the city park was involved with that, or whether or not, I can't.
So when I said priorities, that was priorities for planning when we were budgeting it out. Everything that's going up is going up at once. So ingress, egress points, major intersections, points of interest, that's all going to happen all at one time, not in a phased rollout. Those phases were kind of just in the design portion.
I'm sorry, I don't remember. Is City Park?
Absolutely.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Chief. Thanks for stealing part of my mayor's comments tonight, too. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Miss Judy.
Good evening. I don't have much of anything. It's just business as usual. Have a new employee starting on Monday. That will hopefully give me a complete staff. It has been vacant for 6 months, so looking forward to getting that person on board. And that employee will split duties between my department and the court clerk's position. So that's all I have. Anybody have any questions?
I have a question.
Yes.
And this is probably because I'm new, but I was looking over the vacant property fees. That's you, right?
Vacant property is more toward Jesse.
Oh, okay.
And operations, but.
Okay. Well, I was just wondering about the charges. Are those charges, do you know if is that monthly or is that like a one-time charge or how does that work?
The $200?
Yeah.
And Jerry, help me, if it's $200 the first year.
First year freebie.
Free. Your first
Freebie,
is free.
okay, sorry.
200, 400, 6, 8 in increments.
Every year?
Yeah, it's, as long as the property still maintains its vacant status, it continues. First year that you get registered, you don't pay anything. But on the anniversary of that registration is when the 200.
Okay.
And then kicks in.
I was just curious, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
And I know for a fact that Jesse just sent a bunch of letters out to people that owe their
Your Honor,
first
if I may,
time.
this is the first time that I can recall that we as a council have seen this kind of vacant property report. And I think it, again, makes a point of the good job that our code enforcement officer is doing. She's really bringing us up to where we need to be. And I just want that to be noted.
I absolutely agree with you, Counselor. Thank you so much. Chief Himes. That was a very long sigh, sir.
Huh? It's been a long couple of
I was
weeks.
worried about the ceiling.
I'm telling you,
Maybe
I'm
we
getting
should
too old for
hard
this. So, before I get sidetracked, and it's not on my notes, I'd like to echo Travis's kind words on Jeremy and everything this week. It was a big help, and some of the things that normally happen at the firehouse during one of these events that, you know, we're not strangers to, we didn't have to quite deal with as much, so keep it up, kid. March, 56 calls for the month. So the monthly totals are starting to trend back closer to normal, but we're still 32 to 4% ahead of annuals. There's nothing really to pinpoint. I think it's been weather and just stuff happens. So last week, we were in Columbus for final on the engine. Found just a few things during the final inspection. How that kind of works is they've got it sitting in a delivery bay, and where you saw the pictures taken, and our salesman hands me a 22-page component report, and we go through line by line by line by line by line all 488 things on that truck and make sure that it is right. And it's right from what we signed on 33 months ago. So test your memory real quick. So we got it to the dealer shop the next day, laid out all of our all the stuff that they're going to have mounted, and they have some installs on some specific electronics and things like that to do. They started lettering it first of this week. That probably got done today. I got a couple sneak peeks, but it's not circumferential, so I don't know that everything's there, but it was well on its way. So hopefully Monday it'll be starting the mounting process. I'm hopeful at the end of this month it'll be here. I'm done making promises, but rest assured it will be at a council meeting near you in the very near future. On with the storms, we did have a couple water rescues from stalled vehicles. Reported a fire on Senator Street in the middle of it all that turned out to be nothing. Still playing catch up on the smoke alarm project. Red Cross stopped and dropped us off a few more to get us over the hump, and picked up all the paperwork. So by the end of this, I'd say in the last 30 to 45 days, we will have installed at least 100. So talking with them about maybe in their new budget year in the fall, closer to Fire Prevention Week, maybe doing another big push, and they'll be able to help with a lot of the PR and stuff. I'm not taking it away from you. They got a name. Just relax. But yeah, they do sound the alarm events periodically, and they volunteered that to us if we would want to do it maybe in the fall, closer to Fire Prevention Week. So that's all kind of yet to be determined. That's all I got. If anybody's got any questions.
Thank you, Chief.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Stokes.
Thank you. Open enrollment began this week, where people are selecting their benefits for fiscal year beginning July 1. As mentioned last week, all staff are meeting with HR to review offerings and complete paperwork. And I want to point out that includes any counselors taking health insurance. So that's just to make sure everyone's aware of all the offerings. One thing to keep an eye on, we are kicking around some ideas about, with Communications Department, Jeremy is working on some further improvements to sound quality in this room, looking at the possibility of some acoustic panels to absorb echoes and allow louder amplification without feedback. So that's, we're still trying to secure the funding for that, but that's just a preview. Today, we had a very successful meeting of the Board of Zoning Appeals. This is something we've always technically had, or long technically had, but the great thing today was we were able to get training for them. For one thing, we have not had a fully staffed 5-member board in a while, but right now we do have 5 members, some familiar faces, and some other people haven't seen involved with any city boards before. And they got training today from the West Virginia University Land Use and Sustainable Development Law Clinic, who you know from our zoning work and whatnot. And so they're well trained now and oriented, and this is a very important board that has specific roles under the zoning code. There are things that the zoning code can't do without a board of zoning appeals. And so it was great to see them all turn out and get this training. I think it's a good reset, and looking forward to working with them. And I'm also thankful for anyone that steps forward for those boards, commissions. It's volunteer work, and especially when they're fitting it in around schedules, working schedules, it's a big help to us, so I'm very appreciative of that. Anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Sutton. Ms. Roberts.
Thank you, Mayor. And to follow up on what Sutton just said, the BZA, which is required with your zoning ordinance, there was a lot for them to absorb today. It was a long meeting and lots of information, but Sutton made the comment at the end, if anyone had anything to say, and no one resigned, which is always a positive thing because there is a lot. It's a very, very important board to have. And I don't have anything else other than if there's something that comes up with the new business.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, moving down to the approval of the vendor invoice payments, I will entertain a motion to accept the invoices as presented.
I move to pay the AP.
We have a motion. Any comments or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Down to new business. Ordinance 327, TIF Advisory Committee. This is the first of 2 readings. Sutton, do you want to explain this for the public?
So this connects back to the larger topic of the TIF, tax increment financing. About a year ago, you finally, after receiving permission from the State Department of Economic Development, adopted your actual ordinance implementing the TIF district, starting the process where you can collect the incremental property taxes and use those towards certain specified projects in a specified area. So this ordinance, the intention of this is separate, doesn't affect that ordinance. The only purpose of this ordinance is to create a TIF advisory committee that would include 2 staff members and the leadership of 2 outside partner organizations. And the role of this committee, with the emphasis on the word advisory, as laid out in the ordinance, would basically be to come up with an objective process for identifying and prioritizing certain projects within the parameters of the law, and then certifying that the projects meet the parameters of the law. And then this would be presented to council. Council retains the final say in how it uses its TIF funds. But this would be an opportunity to both get some teamwork from inside and outside the organization to kind of identify projects there where there might be some synergies available with projects going on external to the city organization, and also bring to bear some of the expertise that we have available to us. One thing to keep in mind about a city our size with a TIF, there aren't many cities our size, which is to say this small, that have gotten TIF districts, and often the kinds of places that have them often have fully staffed planning departments and engineers and different people on staff. This is a way to augment what we have inside the building with some expertise out in the community. But as I said, it's advisory only, and nothing that this committee would do would bind council. It would simply provide a good decision-making recommendation.
So with that, I will entertain a motion to accept.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or discussion?
Does it say in here, like what the makeup of the committee would be, like total
Yes,
number?
I'm sorry. It's, it'd be, and it's identified by title, not name, city clerk and operations manager from inside the organization, and then the executive directors of the Development Authority and of Woodlands Development and Lending.
So 4 total?
4.
Okay.
And then I remember when we were doing the ARPA funding, and we sort of had a grid for requests and trying to figure out priorities that was put together that established whether or not somebody's proposal was within the ARPA parameters. So is this something similar that you, when you look at potential projects, to make sure it would be in
Yeah,
line?
the way the ordinance is written, it does basically describe, directs the committee to establish a I forget the exact wording, but essentially that would be one of the first steps, would be before picking any projects, would be deciding what is going to be the rubric or, checklist that would be the basis that you could say was being applied to each project. So there'd be something like that.
Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. B, to reschedule April 18th meeting to April 16th. This is the third Tuesday for the laying of the levy, which is required. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. We're going to skip C because that's actually been postponed to 4/16. So we're going to move on down to D, Resolution 1743, amending rules of the Police Civil Service Commission concerning order of examinations. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1744, establish a new HR director position and adapt a new job description. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any questions or comments?
I just have a quick question. Is it just essentially changing from human resources, like generalist, or, just to clarifying the position as a director?
Yeah, as you can see in the wording of the ordinance, it basically is saying we're going to edit that position with the current incumbent and retitle it and add a new job description that's more appropriate to what she's actually been doing.
And that's kind of what I was going to ask. Is that more kind of appropriate, like with how things in the general industry for like human resources, especially for municipalities, is that kind of how it's usually titled?
Well, I mean, it just depends what your staff member is doing, but typically, and when we created the generalist position, it was uncertain who we would get, exactly how they would function, what would be the relationship with, if we were going to still use any outside assistance, various questions like that. And, so an HR generalist would typically be more part of an HR department under the direction of someone like a director, but we've ended up with someone in the role who's much more at the level of helping to design policy, helping to make judgment calls, all the things that you're looking for, more from a director than you would from someone who might be more directed to just follow established processes and checklists and things.
And I will say Melissa's definitely delivering above what we anticipated initially and punching above her weight.
Oh yeah, she's done phenomenal, yeah. Just curious, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1745, reclassify communication specialist as an exempt under the FLSA. I will entertain a motion to accept, please. We have a motion. Any questions or comments? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. Resolution 1746, reappoint Rob Nestor to the Elkins Parks and Recreation Commission. I will entertain a motion to accept, please.
So moved.
We have a motion. Any questions or discussion? If none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, nay. Motion carries. That was painless tonight, wasn't it? We're down to mayor's comments. I will try to keep this brief as well. I do want to echo our chief's comments earlier about the teamwork from our employees throughout the entire city. I also want to thank our external partners that reached out and volunteered any kind of assistance they could. We had people contact us to say they had room at the American Legion if we needed it. We had the Youth Build folks reach out and say they would be willing to do anything they could, fill sandbags or whatever was necessary. So we have some really good outside partners. I think the flooding that we had this week is a prime example of why we need to develop a stormwater team, which Mike Kesker has been pushing for quite some time. We're not going to be able to fix this overnight, but I think at least taking the step of moving toward that team to identify some solutions and maybe some relief for the city and the community is much needed. So I do feel like we're making the right strides at this point in time. On a different note, it saddens me right now to let you know that, in case you weren't aware, our city park, our main city park, was vandalized last night. We believe it was probably a group of young men or youth, maybe not men, maybe men and women. If anybody has any information on this, please contact our police department. This is, we're very blessed to have the parks that we have, and this is public dollars being destroyed. So if anybody out there, if you guys hear anything, if you have any evidence, if you have any videos, photos, whatever, please contact the police department because these folks need to be held accountable for that. We're blessed to have what we have, and it saddens me that some people just lose their minds and do stupid things is what I'll say. So with that, I'm going to say meeting adjourned.